it's this illusion that we can do it all, and we can't. We just cannot. And that's what my boss told me while I was in the hospital. She said, you know, you're doing a lot. Got a lot going on. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you might want to consider putting something to the side. And I was like, yeah. Now, she didn't know it was going to be my place of employment.
This is Beyond Influential with Brittany Crystal. Join Brittany as she chats with today's thought leaders about the power of influence, how it's developed, and how they get us to consume both on and offline. Here's your host, Brittany Crystal.
Welcome to this week's episode of Beyond Influential. I'm here today with Jillian JJ Simmons, also known as JJ on the mic. She is a true multi-hyphenate in every sense of the word. A mother, entertainer, philanthropist, and author. As a radio personality, she worked her way up through several markets, working alongside Wendy Williams in New York, and most recently Houston's top hip-hop station, 97.9 The Box. She has interviewed a who's who of the rich, famous, and influential, including President Barack Obama. On top of that, she's a dedicated mother and created the website singlemomsrock.com to motivate other single mothers through her network. She has also created the I Am Me Foundation, which encourages at-risk middle and high school girls to be the best versions of themselves. Not only that, she's the author of the book Without Bruises, the story of her journey from hurt to healing after surviving an abusive relationship. I'm so honored to be talking to her. Welcome to the show, JJ. You do so much.
Thank you. I know every time I hear someone read my bio, I'm like, dang, I'm tired.
Yeah, I think there's way more in there. And I was like, we'll be here all day.
Oh, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And I told you right before this, I'm super nervous to interview you because this is a complete amateur hour next to, I'm not you interviewing Barack Obama.
Girl, it is girl talk. Let's go for it. Don't even think about it.
I'm definitely going to have to ask you about your time management skills also. But if you could just give a general background, what do you tell people when people ask you what you do?
So, you know, I'm a founder of nonprofits, author and speaker. And, you know, and I live in my purpose. When people say, what is it that you do? I live in my purpose, finally, you know? So doing what I love to do, empower and motivate young girls and women to be the best version of themselves.
So you've had a career in radio that so many people wish they had. How did you even get started wanting to do radio?
Oh my gosh. I was a little nerdy kid. So I knew that I wanted to be in radio when I was in 6th grade. Oh, wow. I would listen to the people on the radio and I thought they sound so cool because they sound like they were my friends. And so I would call them and basically harass them. Like, you know, you said this wrong. That wasn't the right song. You didn't say it right. Like I would call, like I was that person. And, it was a true blessing to be able to actually work at the station that I harassed all these radio personalities with when I was 16. So I've been in radio 24 years.
I didn't think about it because I was going to ask you why not TV over radio, but radio is the one medium at the time where you could actually call and speak to the people on air.
Yes, it was. And plus, I love the idea, like just being honest, I could wear whatever I wanted to wear because I didn't want to have to go to work and wear suits and high heels. I knew that no one had to see my face. It wasn't about, you know, makeup and glam. There was no Instagram at that time. Gosh, I sound old. And, you know, it was a place where I could just listen to music and have fun. And that was it.
So was radio a realistic option at that time? Or was that like just a dream job? Or was that, like, what was radio like at the time?
It was. My mom thought I was crazy. I mean, she's like, what's this little radio thing you're doing? And I'm like, I'm going to be a radio personality. I didn't want to be a star. Like, I didn't think of being a radio personality as being a celebrity at all. Like, I just knew I wanted to go to work and just have fun and listen to music and not dress up. That was it. And so when I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, I was working an overnight show from 12 until 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's like the worst shift ever. And I quit my job there to move to New York. And I told everyone, I'm like, I'm quitting, I'm moving to New York. And they're like, do you have a job? No, I don't, but I'm going to get one and I'm going to be on the radio. And everyone thought I was bananas. Like, what do you mean you don't have a job? Like, I remember my boss telling me, you're going to end up working at the post office or something. And that's where you're going to be forever. Like, getting a job in radio in New York is like, it's just impossible. And I went to New York with $1,500. And I thought that was a lot of money at the time, till I realized my rent was $1,500. And I worked at a makeup place in Brooklyn for 3 months. And I harassed the program director every single day, asking him, please just give me a chance. Like, and I only applied for one radio station. And that was WBLS, like the heritage station in New York. That's where I wanted to work. And finally, after 3 months, he gave me a job.
So what year is this when you're harassing the radio station? Are you going in person? Are you calling them?
Oh, I was calling. They would not let you in the building. I did try once. They wouldn't let you. I called every day. So that was in 2001. And so, I got there in January. I ended up finally getting on the radio. It was about March. And it was my dream come true. And then he fired some lady and I ended up taking her job. So I ended up getting a full-time position on the radio.
How did you even get that first internship?
Oh gosh, the internship, what was cool is my high school had a radio station. It was a rock station. I knew nothing about rock at all, but now I can tell you about Metallica and all kinds of different people. And so my school kind of helped to push those internships. At that time, which was a long time ago, you could intern as high school students. Now you don't see that often. You have to get a college credit and stuff. So that wasn't the case back then. And so my high school actually helped me to get that internship.
So when you get to this radio station, do you know what you're doing? Did you have any research or formal education at all in radio?
Just what I had learned in school, at the school radio station. But honestly, I mean, I knew that this is what it was going to be. Like, I was going to have to learn as much as possible. My internship, I not only worked with the radio personalities, but I answered phone. I was the receptionist. I was washing the doggone vehicles. I learned about sales. I learned about promotion. So I really was able to get great knowledge about how radio works in all the different elements of radio.
Did you want to work on the music side, or were you interested in talking about current events or being someone like a Howard Stern type?
Oh gosh, no. I just wanted to listen to music and just talk to people. That's it. Like, I wasn't even, like, celebrities weren't even a thing for me. Like, I wasn't even hyped up about the idea of meeting celebrities. I always felt like just wanted to talk to people. Like, I wanted to make friends with people, and that's what it is. It's like you if you have a good radio personality, you would believe that person's your friend. You should be listening to the radio like, I have to listen to Big Boy, because when you listen to Big Boy, right, you feel like that's my friend, like that's my dog. Like, and that's how it should be.
So is that what makes a good radio personality?
Oh yeah, somebody who is relatable. Somebody who you feel like isn't acting, like they're really authentic, and like that. That's a good radio personality, and they know their stuff. It's no longer about the voice. Like back in the day, it used to be like, it's not that anymore. It's like, I want to feel like I'm talking to my friend or listening to my friend on the radio. Did
you ever practice your radio voice, or do you have any tips and tricks for people who are recording audio?
When I first got on the radio, I sucked so bad. I remember my brother calling me on the request line, like, sis, you suck, man. Like, you sound horrible. I was so nervous and I was trying too hard. And it's just like, no, just be yourself, and for people who want to be on the radio, like, I am so honest about what it is now. It's not the same. It's you and I were just talking about this and some, as far as other places, like, they are bringing young people in who are going to work for $12 an hour, so you're not going to get paid the millions of dollars that you see some other radio personalities who have been in the business forever make. It's just a different world. And you need to know more than radio now. You got to blog, you have to do videos, you got to know social media. Like, you have to have so many other skills than just being able to talk. Anybody can talk now.
Do they encourage you to actually put out your own brand at the radio station?
Some places are different. Some places don't want you to be bigger than the station. So, you have people like, for example, a Big Boy or, a Charlemagne, who their brands are so much bigger than the radio station. Sometimes radio stations fear that. But at the same time, for a person like me, who considers myself to be kind of like a balance. Like, I'm not that lifestyle anymore. Yes, I like to go to see Jay-Z or whatever, but like, I'm not like Lil Yachty. Like, I'm not like, I don't want to go to the clubs anymore. Like, I'm just kind of over that. But that's something to think about, when you think about your own personal brand and how it meshes, I guess, with the station you want to work out.
So you're in New York at this point. When do you leave New York? When do you decide it's time for a change?
Girl, 9/11 happened and I was like, I am out of here. It scared the life out of me. And people, and I'm sure people like in New York or people who had family members there maybe understand more than the average person. But that was like the most traumatic thing ever, just from on the outside of it, living in a city. I worked right down the street from the World Trade Center. Some of my listeners were in that building. People I talk to every day were in that building, and I never heard from them again. And so it was so traumatizing to me. And I was like, I don't know what's going on in this city. I was so like, it was mind blowing. And it really helped me to better understand what my values were. And so I realized, you know what? I really value my friends and family more. And I don't have friends and family here in New York. I really value my comfort. And I'm not comfortable in New York taking 3 trains to work every day and seeing just rats in the subway. I'm like, this is like real. Like, I just could not deal with it. Like, it wasn't my lifestyle. It wasn't what I loved. You know what I mean? So I got my butt up out of there.
So I don't know what the biggest radio markets are, but I'm assuming New York is pretty big. So people were probably there. It's number 1.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people were surprised that you would leave. Where did you go? Did you leave just without a job? Were you just like, I'm going to find a job elsewhere?
I went back home. I went back to Ohio. So yes, my boss, Benny Brown, he was like, you're going to do what? And I was like, I'm leaving. I'm going back home. He's like, do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, yeah, I don't like it here. Like, I did it. I gave it a chance. I made my dream come true. That's what I wanted to do. My dream was to be on the radio in New York City. And damn it, I did it. And now I realize it's not what it was cracked up to be. So I wasn't making Wendy Williams money. You know what I mean? Worked the same hours, but I wasn't making her money. So I'm like, my lifestyle wasn't what I wanted it to be. And so, you just, sometimes your vision changes and that's okay. So my vision changed. I'm like, nah, I want to go back home. I'm going to do it.
How did you end up in Houston then?
So I ended up in Indianapolis for a while. I was there for like almost 10 years. And ironically, the boss that I had in Cincinnati when I left to New York, it was my boss here in Houston. And so she saw me in Indy and she knew it was time for me to leave that place because I had been there for so long and I was just over it. I was going through some issues with the guy that I wrote the book about. And she's like, you need a fresh start. And so she brought me here to Houston and I've been in Houston about 6 years now.
So what keeps someone in a job for 10 years? That's like pretty much unheard of at this point.
Just comfort just being complacent. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It was a nice town to settle down in. You know, I got married. I had a daughter. So it was like a settle down kind of thing. And then I ended up getting divorced. And so it was like, what's out? And Indianapolis is like a small town. Like everyone knows each other. And it's just like, it's time for something new. Like, let's try something else.
So how do you keep it fresh day to day when you're on the radio then for that long?
Yeah. So I had this feature on my show called the Midday Drama. So just picture like a soap opera on the radio. So that kept it fresh. Like people were writing in these stories about things they were going on. And either I would give them advice or listeners would call in to give them advice. So it was so fun, you know? And I think that's what it is. Like my job was fun. It was, you know, I was able to be creative every single day. And that was a good thing.
Has the industry changed at all since you started?
Oh yeah, it has. I mean, you're expected to do more now. I mean, like, you know, it's still a corporate job when you think about it. It might seem glamorous and fun, but at the end of the day, it's a corporation, right? And money is everything. And so you know, to cut expenses, we need everyone doing two jobs, you know? So a lot of people are in management positions or they're doing other things for the station as well as being a radio personality. And that can be stressful because you're doing a lot. You're required to be more places. When the station's numbers are down, they want you to be out in the community more. So you're finding yourself working a lot of hours even after work. So yeah, it definitely changed a lot.
Did you ever feel pressure to be someone besides who you are?
You know, like a little bit, yes. And only because as I've gotten older, what matters to me is different than what mattered to me 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So like, for example, I could care less about any radio or reality TV show. I hate reality TV. I do. Like all the basketball ones and Love and Hip Hop and all of that. Like, it's just not for me. Like, it just looks so stupid to me. So the thing is, like, if I know my demographic, I know that my demographic actually loves those shows. So I'm trying my hardest to talk about things that I don't care about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care that Chris Brown and Soulja Boy are getting into a fight. I don't care who Rihanna's dating. Like, I don't care about any of that. So having to talk about things or research things that I just don't care about, it was kind of toxic to me.
So what would you say is the hardest part about the industry? Is it that, or was it something else? Yeah,
I think, you know, trying to, I don't even want to say pretend, but in a way it is. Like for example, the music. Like, I'm not into like the Migos. I know this sounds so bad, but I'm just being honest. Like, the music has changed. So I'm a 90s girl. Like, I like 90s music. I love Jay-Z. I love Beyonce. But that music, it was just like nerve-wracking to me to listen to it every day. And I'm just like, how can people listen to this? So I'm basically having to put on a front, you know, oh, that's the new Migos right there. It's like, no.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if somebody was looking to actually get into radio now, what advice would you give them?
Don't do it. No, I mean, honestly, it's just don't have these high expectations of making big money and becoming a star. You know what I mean? Like, understand this, research your industry first, you know, like really know like where radio is going right now before you even enter. You'd be better off doing a freaking YouTube page or like you know what I mean? Or submitting some stuff to like Netflix before you could do like radio. Like, you might do better at that, like doing little creative episodes on YouTube. But it's just, or a podcast, you know what I mean? But it's just not what it used to be. And I think people need to really do that research. Everyone wants to be a star right now. Everybody.
Yeah, they think it's easy, but it's definitely not easy.
It is a lot of work. It is. It really is.
So you've interviewed a ton of influential people. I'm sure you could name drop for the next hour. But are there any secrets to getting these people to open up to you, or how did you prepare for them?
That's a good question. What I remember doing this interview with DJ Khaled, and after the interview,
what year was this? Sorry to interrupt.
This might have been like maybe
pre-Snapchat.
Oh gosh, yeah. It might have been like 3 years ago. And I have it on my YouTube page too. And at the end of the interview, he's like, yo, kid, like you killed this interview. He's like, you just dig and dig and do you know your stuff? And I'm like, yeah, because I research. And the thing is, like, it's like, how do you talk to a person and make them feel so comfortable, like they are talking to a friend? And it's like, so you start off like, yo, like I saw you pump their ego up, right? Right? You always got to pump somebody's ego up. Like, yo, Khaled, I'm feeling this new song, like, you know, and then you talk about things that they don't expect you to talk about. Like, yo, you know, I noticed, you know, on your Snapchat, you know, in the background, your wife was sipping on such and such, you know, like, are y'all wine drinkers? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you talk about things you wouldn't expect. And it loosens them up, like, oh crap, like you really pay attention. And then the next thing you know, you have them in a space where you can talk about anything.
Those are amazing tips that I'm 100% saving for future podcast interviews. So let's talk about your community a little bit. How were you keeping in touch with your fans at that time, and how have you been building that community?
I really through Instagram, and I started doing videos on YouTube. So I had to amp up my YouTube page and bring people from Instagram to YouTube. So I was doing these daily blogs, letting people into my life, my new journey, and, you know, coming out of radio and entering entrepreneurship full time, and taking a lot of like, I just got a lot of people hitting me up, like Instagram, Facebook, messages on YouTube, and just making sure I'm responding to people and keeping them engaged so that they stick around.
Did you used to get letters at all?
I've never gotten an actual letter, but I definitely have gotten some emails. Like, I mean, like that had me in tears. Just people who are like, it's not the same. We want you to come back. And I'm like, go to my YouTube page. Check me out on YouTube. I'm there. Like, you know, because I miss, that's probably the one thing I do miss about radio. It's like being able to talk to those people.
So when was the first time you realized that you were really influencing your audience and connecting to people?
Oh, man. Sheesh, that's a great question. You're asking some good questions.
Thank you.
Gosh, I don't know. You know, I think anytime that you hear people's feedback from something, or like when I'm out and at the grocery store and people are coming up to me like, oh my God, when you talk to, you know, Tyrese about blah, 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 like that was like, you realize like, oh crap, like people really are paying attention. Or when people are saying like, oh girl, I heard you talking about you went to go, you know, get your nails done at this place. Well, I went and you were right, girl. They did a good job. Like, oh, people do pay attention, you know?
Yeah. So when did you first start using your platform to kind of push to other things that weren't related to radio or music?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's been a blessing. Like since I started my foundation, my supervisor here at the box, you know, she has such a big heart. And so she was all for it. Like, please, if you have something that you want to push to your listeners and it's positive, you know, by all means, use the platform, post on Instagram, you know, feel free to talk about it because they want you to be you. And that's a big part of me is the giving, you know, a big part of me is the book. So I was able to talk about, you know, the book on the air and that's great. Or even the causes that mean something to me. Like I can talk about those things too.
So when did you start your foundation and your single mom website? I'm assuming when you were in Houston?
Yeah. So the foundation actually started right before I came to Houston. That was in 2010. And then Single Moms Rock, we celebrate our 3-year anniversary in January.
Congratulations.
Yay! Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It is so much work, but it's great.
Can you talk to me about why you started the foundation and then why you started your website?
Sure. So my daughter is 10, going on 25. And she's an amazing kid. And I noticed as she was getting older, she would come home talking about things that I'm like, where are you getting this from? Like, who are you talking to? And she's talking to other students at school. And it made me think, like, you know, as much as I pour into my daughter as a parent, she's still going to be influenced by kids at school because that's where she is all day. And I was scared because all I could think of is, what if the girls that she's looking up to at school aren't great role models for her? And so my foundation, our focus is helping to mold these young ladies into amazing role models for little girls like mine. So we focus on middle school and high school girls. And I said, I have to do this. Like, this is necessary, you know, to empower these girls to know that they have greatness inside of them and the world needs to see it. As far as my singlemomsrock.com, I am a single mother. I understand the struggles of being a single mom. Not to say that married moms don't have struggles, because everyone's struggles are different. So I don't want to put that out there like they don't have, you know, hard times, but there are certain things that a single mom goes through that nobody else goes through, you know, and doing it all by yourself, it can get really frustrating. So the website was designed to help motivate single moms just to keep going. It's to give them that extra push, to inspire them to just don't stop, no matter how hard it gets, and to give them the tools that they need to keep pushing.
So going back to talking about influencing your daughter, what do you think actually influences girls at the middle school and high school level?
Oh my gosh. You know, it's so scary right now that these girls are on social media.
I was going to ask if your daughter uses social or is allowed any access to social media.
Yeah, she is. And I do monitor it as much as I can. She has her own brand, you know, so she has her own t-shirt line, her own book.
Is she really?
Yeah.
What's the brand about?
So yeah, it's called Alani Rocks. So she's Alani Rocks official on Instagram. You be sure to follow her. Alani, she attends a Mandarin Chinese school. So Alani speaks fluent Mandarin.
Wow.
And so I talked to her about it, and she did this Chinese contest, a Mandarin speech contest, and she failed miserably. She actually froze. And when we talked about that situation, she said she wanted to write a book about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So she wrote down everything that happened, what she could have done better. And the next thing you know, we have a full-blown book, right? And she did it all herself. And you know, that makes me proud. She sees her mother as an author, and now she's an author, you know. She actually had her book finished before mine. How did that happen? But yeah, so she has a t-shirt line. And so I monitor what she does on Instagram. Like, I have gone through her Instagram and unfollowed a lot of people. Baby, I love you, but you can't follow Rihanna. You can't follow, like, you know, like there's certain people you just can't follow. And then there are people who leave comments on her page, and that we've had to talk about how to handle negative comments, because it's a part of life. This is the world that they live in now. You know, we didn't have to deal with this when we were younger. Like, there were, like, the negative comments were only what people said to your face. Now you get access to millions of people who can instantly say whatever they think and don't care or think twice about it. So we have those conversations, and these girls, like, it's sad because they're becoming depressed. You know, we're seeing girls who are committing, and boys for that matter, who are committing suicide because of bullying on Instagram and Twitter. It is bananas. And so we have to have more dialogue with these young ladies on, you know, not feeling like they need to compare themselves, or it's not okay to be who you are, because it is okay.
So just out of curiosity, who does she want to be following, and who is she watching, and who is she looking at?
Yeah, so like Zendaya, you know, like she's right. And, you know, just different, like Sky Jackson, like Disney people. She likes Disney people. Family members is fine. But like when you think about like who she really likes, a lot of those people are just the people that she sees on television. So they're all like Disney or Nickelodeon people, you know, and that's how she wants to dress and all of that. And I mean, that's cool. But she also has a side of her that I love where she'll wear some weird stuff to school. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna wear that. And she's like, I just want to be me. I'm like, hey, all for it. If your socks don't match, that's what you want to do. You do you. And I appreciate that.
So are you giving these girls mentors, or are you running workshops, and how many times a week is it?
Yes, we give them workshops. So we're in the schools once a week. It's about 2.5 hours we spend with the girls. We do workshops on everything from beauty and style, goal setting, etiquette, robotics, healthy cooking, financial literacy, mental health. We have workshops that cover everything you could think of. And they're all very engaging and interactive. So the girls aren't bored to death because they've been in school all day. Like they are having fun and being educated and not even really knowing it.
So these two communities that you've been building, how are you getting the word out about them?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of it comes from word of mouth. You know, a lot of it comes from partnerships with people who I feel like line up with my brand. And a lot of it really comes from just the exposure that I've been able to have through my own personal platform and what I've been doing, you know, throughout my life. You know, I have a decent amount of followers on Instagram, which has really helped me to push all of my brands and lead them to other places, you know.
Did you want to wait till the time was right and you actually had that platform to start these things? Or do you think you would have just started them anyway?
Oh, I would have started them anyway. I would have. And I try to be up on like what's the new thing that's coming. Probably not as much as you, because like, this is the thing. I'm like, so I have to tell me what's the hot thing coming, okay? Because I need to know. But yeah, absolutely. Like you can't wait. You cannot wait. I mean, you know, it's like I have 60,000 something followers on Instagram, but when you go to my book's Instagram, it's only like 800 followers, but they are active followers. You know what I mean? They're loyal followers, and that's fine. If it only grew to 1,000, I'd really be okay because I know that the people who are there they are people who have purchased this book. You know, they are serious about following me.
So we'll talk about the book in a second, but have you grown a community around the book?
Oh yeah. It has. It's its own. Like I would tell you, I went on this on my book tour. I was in Washington D.C. for the first time ever. People came who I don't know, who said they follow me on Instagram. They follow Without Bruises, and they're like, "Yeah, I already have the book." And I'm like,
awesome.
For the first time, it was the best feeling I've ever had ever. I was just like, oh my God, people showed up to my book tour who already had the book and already read it. Like, so I know it works. It really works.
So let's talk about the book, and can you give background on why you felt like you needed to write it?
Yeah. So my book is about my relationship with a guy who was a sociopath and the often missed signs of mental and emotional abuse. So I was being abused in this relationship, and I did not know that what was happening was abuse. I knew it didn't feel right. I knew I was depressed. I was sad a lot of the time, but I just didn't know what it was until after I got out of the relationship. And so in the book, I talk about what took place. There was a lot of craziness. It was like a Lifetime movie. And then I talk about how I was finally able to get out of that relationship and to heal. And I wrote it because I knew after my second year in therapy, I said there has to be a lot of people out there who have gone through the same situation and they don't know that they are either in an abusive relationship or what took place was abuse.
Did you write the whole thing yourself, or did you have any help?
I wrote it myself. I did have someone edit, because that, oh God, that was a challenge in itself. But I did have someone edit it for me, but I wrote everything myself.
So how did you get the word about the book out there?
Yeah. So, well, at the time I was still on the radio, so that really helped to be able to push it. But I teamed up with domestic abuse agencies in different places. Henry Bendel has been such a pleasure to partner with. They were allowing me to go to different cities and use their store as a location to do my book signing.
Wow. How did you even reach them?
Yeah, a friend of mine was like, dude, my her friend did a book signing at Henry Bendel. She's like, I'll find the contact person. And then we reached out to, their headquarters in New York. And the woman and I started talking and we really connected. And the next thing you know, she's like, I heard your signing went so great in Houston. Have you thought about doing other cities? And I'm like, yeah, I have. Sure I have. And the next thing you know, like I'm doing 5 other cities. So it's been awesome.
Are you still trying to promote mental health?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, more than ever. It's a conversation that will never go away. Like people need to know it's okay to sit on a couch and talk to somebody. Like, people need to know everyone has issues. Find out what they are, doggone it, and get some help.
There's such a stigma about it. What finally got you to go to a therapist?
Oh my God, it's the saddest thing. So when my father told me, like, you're in an abusive relationship, you need to see somebody, like, I didn't want to go because, well, first of all, I felt like I didn't need therapy. Like, he's the one who's banana, so he needs to go to therapy. And then I didn't want people to see the radio TV personality. I didn't want them to see that, like I'm supposed to be okay, And I saw my father cry for the first time ever. And that's what pushed me to go and see somebody. And I thought therapy was going to be like a 2-day thing. Like, I'm going on Wednesday and I'm going next Wednesday and now I'm good. And I was in therapy for 3.5 years.
I think a lot of people avoid it, not only because of the stigma, but because it's a lot of work.
And people don't want to do the work. And that's the thing.
Work's hard.
Oh, right. Work is hard. You're like, I already work my job. I don't want to have to do this. But, I spoke at this event last Sunday and I was telling these ladies there, I said, for when a woman finds a lump on her breast, she immediately calls a doctor, right? Because you can't handle that yourself. You call a doctor, you make an appointment, he does an assessment, gives a diagnosis, he gives you a plan, boom. But when it comes to our brain, which is the most important organ in our body, it controls everything. We don't want to do that. We feel like, oh, I got this. I know I'm sad today, but I'll get through it. I'll get over it. Or I know I'm crying all the time. I mean, it'll fade away. We'll pray it away. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, get some help. Get some help.
Yeah, definitely. So my brother happens to be a therapist.
Oh, really?
So I know a little bit about mental health, and I think it's just psychology in general is super interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But I think another thing that stops people from going to see, mental health professionals is the relationship aspect.
Oh,
I think that it's really important to find somebody, and I'm sure you can speak to this way more than I can, somebody who actually you connect with, because it is a long-term relationship. And so I think shopping for that person, or like going to a doctor, you might not love your doctor that much or whatever it is, but you go and then you're done.
Right.
This therapy needs to be something that if you've been going for 3 years, like you might go for the rest of your life. Like it might be the same therapist. Yes,
you're right. You're so right. The first person I went to, it didn't work. And then I found somebody who was great. And then I moved to Houston and I continued to Skype with that therapist. And then she got an iPhone, then we did FaceTime. Okay. And it was great. But then after a while, I was like, I feel like I want to sit down and talk to someone face to face. And so I had to go through a couple of different people to find the perfect person that was a great fit. So you're right. It does take a little time, but it's an investment that is worth it, that can really change your life.
So how do you not get discouraged in that? Just because you knew the value, so you kept making sure to find someone?
Yeah. You're like, I got it. Like knowing that my dad was like, this is really serious, because I knew nothing about therapy. I mean, my idea, I just thought it was for crazy people. I'm like, I thought crazy people go see therapists. And had I not done it, I mean, I don't know, I might not even be here today. You know, it was the therapist that's like, okay, you're going to have to see a psychiatrist because where you are mentally is in a very bad place. So you're going to need medicine. Like, it was life changing. And so I'm sure I wouldn't have been here today. So I understand. And there are times I call a therapist now if I'm feeling a certain way, or maybe I just need guidance working through something. There's nothing wrong with it.
Meditate or practice any other kind of self-care?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I suck at meditation.
I do too.
Oh my God. Because we're so busy. And then like your brain just, I feel like creative minds just, if you get me to sit down and sit still, I'm going to come up with some great ideas. And that's the problem. So like, I can't do it, but I enjoy yoga. So I really love yoga. And I have, for self-care for me, sometimes is like, we have a huge Japanese garden here, and I'll just go sit at the Japanese garden and just listen to the water. And that helps me to kind of space out and just relax. But it's so necessary. It's so necessary. And I look at your Instagram, and that's a part of my self-care is looking at your Instagram. So I'm like, yeah.
Thank you so much. I know that's not true, but thank you. So I know we kind of touched on this, but I didn't ask it directly. Why exactly, and why did you feel it was the right time to leave one of the greatest jobs you had in radio?
Yeah. So I was on the air one day and I had a panic attack. And I went to the hospital and I was there for 2 days. And
did you know it was a panic attack?
I didn't know what it was at that time. I just knew I felt a lot. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was in tears. I felt overwhelmed. I was already just stressed. That whole week was just so stressful. And so I sat in the hospital for 2 days and I was like, this is not what's hot in the streets. Sitting with an IV in my arm for 2 days was not cool. And I thought about why I was there. And I'm like, you're stressed the heck out. And it sucks because you're stressed out building someone else's legacy. You're not stressed out building your own. And so I got home that night and I was like, yeah, I said, I think tomorrow's the day. And I got to work and God said, today's the day. And I was like, no, God, it's not. 5 years from now is the day. It's like, no, today's the day. And I heard it clear as day. And so I resigned. And my boss, who is the most beautiful, amazing, incredibly talented woman in the world, it hurt my heart because I knew what it was going to do to her. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, this is it. I got to do it.
So what was your day-to-day like at that time when you were just stressed to the max? How were you dividing time between your foundation and your site and your daughter and radio?
Yep. Barely balancing anything. I mean, it was a lot. I just felt like other people do it. So what are you like, is it really too much? But then when you really look at it, like other people have maybe 10 people on their team. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's this illusion that we can do it all. And we can't, we just cannot. And that's what my boss told me while I was in the hospital. She said, you know, you're doing a lot, got a lot going on. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you might want to consider putting something to the side. And I was like, yeah. Now she didn't know it was going to be my place of employment, but that's what it ended up being. I had to get rid of what I was least passionate about and what was most toxic in my life. Every day it was just, you know, ratings. I mean, it's just ratings. We got, you know, get on it. You're talking too much. You're talking too slow. It's just like, what was so much fun to me began to feel like
work.
Right. It started to feel like work. And when you're waking up and you're dreading going to work, like that's something to really consider. Like,
that's the worst feeling.
It's the worst. The worst feeling. And you deserve something better. I'm not saying every day is going to be rainbows and unicorns, but you want to wake up doing something that you love. And believe it or not, like now after 24 years in radio, and no, I don't make six figures anymore, but I am so happy, and my peace of mind is just incredible. And I would not have been able to say that if I had still been working there.
I think people underestimate that a lot of, powerful people in entertainment and just powerful people in general in any industry tend to have teams built around them that help them and support them. Did you ever have an assistant or anything?
I have a great assistant who helps specifically with Single Moms Rock and the foundation. But when you think of now you have a book and now you're really trying to expand your own personal brand to do speaking, like I don't have anybody else for that, So I would suggest people, I always tell other people, get interns. But then you're like, crap, I got to train the interns. Like that's work. Like it takes away from the work that I'm doing. So, but it's an investment, and sometimes you have to do it. So, yeah, everything is work.
Yeah. So, are you trying to build out your teams for the philanthropy and Single Moms Rock?
Oh yeah, absolutely. What ultimately I want to do with the foundation is to take the tour on the road. And, this tour we've been doing for 5 years in middle schools and high schools. This year, we just opened it up to colleges. And so I would love to go to other cities. So I want to build the team for that. For Single Moms Rock, we are always in need of bloggers, amazing bloggers for the website. And, people who might want to get exposure. It's a great, chance to do that. And then for my personal brand, I'm just looking to see what people want to, I told you I want to do more brand ambassadoring. Is that a word? Brand ambassador?
Yeah, you're being a brand ambassador.
That's funny. But so I'm out here grinding.
So then I guess the best question would be, how are you doing time management now?
Yeah. So that has been such a challenge for me. I finally got a hang of it. I feel like I finally have a rhythm. I started off really great. Like I was like yoga in the morning. And then, you know what I mean? Like it was so consistent. And then now, I don't want to say like you're always on the move to try to make money, but like that's where you are now. Like it's just like, okay, all of that playtime stuff, like I need to rearrange that. So now it's like I wake up in the morning, I go work out every other day, take my daughter to school. I work, I made hours, I have hours for myself. I work 9:30 to 12 and I eat for lunch.
I thought you had 12 midnight. I was like, that's aggressive.
Sometimes I am up at 12 midnight, but that's rare. Like I really try to stay within these hours. And then like I dedicate like, okay, I'm only doing lunch twice a week. And these are the hours that I'm doing lunch. So make it good. Whoever it is, got to be someone who's either, adding to the quality of my life or you're adding to the business, what's it going to be? So I'm just very intentional, I guess, with my time. And that's so important when you want to run your own business.
So right now, what's the legacy you'd want to leave?
Gosh, your questions are great. Starting to sound like Khaled was sounding to me. Girl, you sound great. I want to leave the spirit of giving. And that's it. Like, I want people to just to be able to look at my legacy and say, she busted her butt trying to make a difference in this world. She saw the bigger picture. And I want other people to just sit back and understand, because we're in this world that's just so self-centered. And it's like, y'all, this is bigger than us. One day we're not going to be here. And I want my daughter to be able to carry on my legacy and just to give and to help other people and make other people better, because that's what we need to do. That's what every day we can do. And we can do that through our work, through the job that you have, whatever job it is. If you are a janitor, you can actually make someone's life better by making sure that they have the best atmosphere to work in. Like, everyone can play a part. And I feel like people just need to better understand that. Every single person needs to be contributing to making the world a better place.
So who is currently influential in your life, whether it's online or offline for you?
So this is crazy. So I have a boyfriend now. Oh my gosh. And once again, probably wouldn't have had a boyfriend if I didn't quit my job because I wasn't open to being in that place.
We had no time to meet anybody.
No time. Now I'm like, gosh, is this a good time to have a boyfriend? I don't have a job. But I want to say, like, his name is Jay Barnett. He's an author and a speaker. So he does what it is that I'm ultimately wanting to do full time. And he has been such an inspiration to me. He also runs a nonprofit. Now, this is funny. My nonprofit's called the I Me Foundation. His nonprofit's called the Me Project.
You guys.
That's meant to be together, right? It was destiny. But he inspires me not so much by what he's doing, but just how he lives his life inspires me. Every single day, like watching how he works and how he gives back. It blows my mind. He's an amazing person. And right now, like he's one of the biggest inspirations in my life.
What do you think the secret to influence is?
Authenticity. And that's it. Like I won't endorse a brand or anything if I don't really believe in it. You know what I mean? And, people want to see you. That's why reality TV does so well, is people are like, oh, I want to see the things that the average person isn't going to see. And that's what it is. It's just simply being authentic, being the realest you can be.
JJ, I appreciate your time so much. Where can people find you? Give us all the websites, all the Instagrams.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So jjonthemic.com. I'm JJ on the mic on everything. So Facebook, I'm JJ on the mic fans, but JJ on the mic, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And withoutbruises.com, Without Bruises on all social media. And I'm Me Foundation is IMME Foundation. We're on everything .org if you check out the website, and singlemomsrock.com. And we are Single Moms Rock on everything.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Aww.
I'll be stalking you on Instagram again.
I'll be stalking you too.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Influential. If you found value in this week's episode, please rate and subscribe on iTunes. I'd love to know who you find influential. You can let me know on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Brittany Crystal, KRYSTLE, or visit my website, brittanycrystal.com.